Eric's not coming.
Oh, I don't know.
I will call to order this meeting. Board of Trustees at the Saratoga Springs Library. The first order of business is to approve the November meeting minutes. Do we have any questions or comments on those? If not, someone make a motion to approve?
I would move approval.
Thank you. Thanks, Carol. All in favor? Next, we have portfolio of the expenditures. We have prepaid checks, number 74221. 74223, totaling $3,083.71.
And just to let people know, items B and C have changed since the original packet went out. Just so you know. So
Item B changed also.
B did change. There was, so the check that you noticed, that 74281, that was listed twice. It had the same amount listed twice.
Yes.
That has been changed to list the check only once. What the second listing was, there was originally a check for twice that amount that included a prepayment that will come with the second payroll in December, but we've eliminated that and it will come as a prepaid check.
Okay, so it's just total of this.
So the total has changed, right? So the range of checks is the same, but the total is $2,880 less, I think is what, or $2,663.
I looked at that and saw the C part, but
Right.
didn't process what that meant for B.
Yeah, and then B is those, when I sent out the packet on Friday, I said because it's so early in the month, if things came in the mail, we would add a supplement.
Okay, so B is December warrants and checks 74224 through 74292. And then we have supplemental warrants, checks 74296 and 74297, totaling $13,233.55.
I have just one question on the warrants, at, let's see, 74285, miscellaneous second visa bill. It's higher than the other visas, 1879.37.
Okay, that's mine. I have to go through and look at all the breakdown. I think it might have been, reach and recovery books that month.
Oh,
Yeah, so like, all of that money comes from grants and donations. It gets put to the friends. And then when we need to buy something, we tell the friends how much we need and they cut the check. But we order it through using the credit card.
okay.
Yeah.
And there might have been some conference
Yeah, there
prepayment.
might have been some conferences too. I can get you the breakdown.
No, I was just wondering because it was not in proportion to the other visa charges, but
Definitely needed,
What you explained
needed a
makes sense.
huge restock for reach recovery. So that's a big piece of it.
good, thanks.
Yep.
Anybody else? If not, I'll take a motion to approve. Thank you, Nancy. I second. Maybe all in favor? Aye. Next, we have approval of the financial items. The prepaids and December warrant summary sheet, the budget report.
And just a note to make that Eric's budget report was prepared prior to the supplemental warrants. And to that change, eliminating that second payment to that check, so there will be next month some slight variations, so that there, it can show higher in the professional services for the, MMB and company as the auditors. So that'll show higher for the professional services. And then it will be a little bit less in the, for that,
I had a question on the income report. There's a note about, I guess it's a recovery donation. 11/6/25, the Friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where that shows up in the income calculation.
it is in the November in the miscellaneous. So it's not a separate entry in the miscellaneous income, but it's included in that 2,780.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Would someone like to make a motion to approve? Thank you, Carol. For a second. I'll say thank you for the motion. No, that's good. All in favor? Aye. And the next report. That's a whole lot. I have just about everybody's training information. Who haven't done it, there's still time, and if you're looking for sexual harassment training, there is some available to the New York State Department of Labor. We have to inform you, sure you might have that information. All I have is, if you haven't sent me anything, please do so, so that I can hide that and pass it on to Jeff, our annual report. Any public comment? There's one here, but was there anything else that? Correspondence and communication? Go to the director's report.
Okay, so we think maybe once and for all, we held off on making a big announcement that the elevator was done, just to make sure that it was done, and then it turns out it wasn't. It broke 5 times at one time. But now they say, they reassure us, don't they, Rick, that it's all repaired. So they came and they did software updates, they replaced a CPU, a computer unit, they vacuumed out metal shavings,
The electronic cords, the electromagnets, the contactors. It's probably close to $18,000 worth of goodies. They said no more piecemeal. I think he got tired of me calling them at 6:30, quarter after 6. And are you coming?
and probably on about the 4th call for service within the first month, the general contractor Plank put the elevator company on notice that the unlegal notice that they had to do something to repair it to make sure that it actually, that it was good work. And that, I think, extended the life of our
How did you find out it was broken in the first place? Like, what kept happening?
It would just quit for, and
They would go into safety lockout. It said fire safety lockout.
then just stop.
It was so sensitive, it can log micro errors. The log would fill up, it would overload after a certain amount of time, and then it would log out, and they were trying to eliminate some things, and finally they just said, just do it all.
So how do you feel about it now?
It was a very intensive process, and I don't want to live through it again. But yes, I feel good. As much as you can with electronics.
You just keep the drink.
The burning period is.
If there are any questions about the rest of the report, we do, I don't know if everybody knows that on the Friday after Thanksgiving, we celebrate Pajama Day.
I saw the pictures, yeah. Great.
And I ran into Terry wearing my pink bunny suit.
I thought, gee, I didn't think I had that much to drink on Thanksgiving.
You can thank Catherine for that.
I did have a question about the weather thing.
Yes.
And you said, if possible, you would put it on the website and on
Yeah,
other social media. When you say if possible, you mean it would not be possible, like if everything was down.
yes, I
But
mean,
otherwise, you would do that.
we would try, but it's a team effort, so there's not one, so I can't put anything. Well, I suppose I could put something on the website and social media, but those jobs are farmed out, so it's not
Okay,
always
okay.
the case that one person is in charge of all of those different aspects.
Okay.
But yes, it is the case sometimes, if the power is out, then sometimes the phone
Right.
system is
Oh,
down.
I get that.
If nobody has more questions for Ed, we'll go to Jen.
Does anyone have any questions? Basically last month we were working to, reported for a long time, we've been talking about this incident reporting system and, it went through, we presented it to the staff a couple of weeks ago. And asked for feedback and we have received some. And we're in the process of just releasing the new software and then seeing what happens from there. Like you're just talking about, anything new, it needs to go through the test of like a real life situation, so. But really, it's just more for, reporting on our end, hopefully easier to search for things. It wasn't a significant change that happened. Catherine and I both took a 4-week online course last month, which I haven't been a student like that in a long time. We had homework every week and had to read things, so I had a lot of time was spent on that, but the homework assignments, I made them true to a situation that perhaps we needed here, like space planning, for seeing how we're gonna literally rearrange the furniture in some other rooms in the building and ways that we could study that, based from a user's point of view, so. That was a very good class. We both have access to all of the documents, that were provided to us, and I have all of, they had like 4 different plans, based on study and a diary study, how people use our space.
So I had a question about then, is any of that helpful with, assessing and evaluating who's here and the hours of operation and that question that we were having that I'm not sure where that went, but people were gonna track how many people were in the building in the evenings and.
So that was one way of doing that, is one way to assess it, and we did do that, and that was, we had, on the second floor for a while, people were tracking how many people used the quiet study room. We realized that people were, but we could do a similar study again, something like that, and then Trevor's circulation staff, you were documenting.
Yeah, between 5 and 9, just interactions at the circulation desk.
So that's one way that you can collect data on things, but this was like a four different approaches on how to gather data that would get a fuller picture of the work, so. The answer is, yes, we have done some work on that, and yes, we can continue to do. If we didn't get answers that we wanted, we can do it again.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember kind of a report coming back to the board of this is what it looks like. Yes, we should likely look at changing the hours, or we should do it in the winter, or we're gonna, I don't remember that ever getting resolved anywhere.
Right, and so I would say, even based on this class that we just took, that limiting it to one service desk is not comprehensive enough to give a full picture of that information. So if we are going to move forward in discussing that in the future, and that's data you want, then we would have to, think about what it would look like and who would collect that data. On top of using door counts and meeting room space, like we do have a lot of data, and we have to pull that all together. And
Is there like amount of time that it should like over a year, like?
no, it should be short. But you could think about it, so if we thought about like doing it during like a break week of school, like you know that there could be more people in the building at that time versus a slower time, like leading up to Christmas might be slow, so,
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Thinking
like,
about-
Seasonally, it may,
Right.
it may change.
right.
Well, we're not really currently able to like close parts of the building. So like the door count just tells us how many people come in and out, like, so we can track like manually, we can track how many people are downstairs or upstairs, but like, I don't think we're currently in a position that we would be able to easily close a single floor.
Yeah, I remember those parts, but other staff had brought it to our attention of just what is it taking to staff then the building this big? If it's much quieter in the evenings, and I thought in the spring, we had kind of thought we would make a decision then when we were looking at the hours and the holidays and things for this year, but I don't remember it kind of circling back. So I guess I would like that information. Cause that seems to be something that we get communicated about periodically, and what are we doing? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful for us to see, maybe do some of that last year.
Yeah, and
We're
in the
looking at
spring,
the
so it'd be good to get it, I
extension.
think, yeah, I think we were thinking seasonally for a while, so now we would get the winter, some kind of winter collection.
What we are observing is definitely there are changes in the patterns of the way people are using the facility and the materials. So while it might be slower at the circulation desk, which it certainly is than it has been in the past, doesn't necessarily mean that there are fewer in the building.
Right.
Are you looking at 9? Is that the time that you would like us to keep, or?
That's what we had talked about before when we were getting the communications from other people of,
Right, slow in the evenings.
slow in the evenings, more than, I think there were some questions about the weekends, but that doesn't, I don't think that's significant as much as the evenings.
Are you done? You like that?
Much thought process, there are a few things we're planning for the not so distant future anymore. New phone system and new security door, badging system. Both of those are dated, both are over 10 years old now. Not that that's a reason to replace them, but the security badge system, the cards that we use are no longer secured. I don't think they were ever really secure. The technologies come along where people can walk by you, like you see in the movies, pick up the type of encryption that you're using, which these use very little encryption, and create their own card and then walk up to the door. Nobody does that because we're a library, but it's one of those things that could happen. So, and our computer that we're using is Windows 10, we gotta replace that, so now everything kind of is coming to a head, but, so we're looking to the future for that. And another thing I'll mention is the testing is, we routinely use free software for our applications on public computers. And it's been fine for 3 years. And so we thought maybe we'd try a bigger application, which is the the Microsoft Office suite. In conjunction with the new computers we just rolled out. And so we replaced it with a very
lookalike clone essentially of the Microsoft. Really, most people only use Word to edit letters and to write things in an open document. So we replaced it with that, and we have gotten some feedback from librarians and patrons that they don't like change. So I'm trying to, at this point, figure out if it's the change that people are upset with or the product. We did a pretty good one-to-one when we were looking to use this product, and it functions very similar. We even changed a few things before we put it on the computer about how it functions, so it would be more like Word. And so we put it on one of the librarians' desks so they can get a feel for it, and so that they feel comfortable helping patrons with it if they have questions. So we're kind of sitting on that and letting it roll and see how it goes. And it's not really a money thing, because right now it could have been, they did discontinue for like 3 or 4 months. That scared everybody. I think the backlash got back to Microsoft. They had discontinued their free to nonprofit for really low cost. And so they went back, and now we can get it for probably $1,400 for all of our public computers upstairs. So it's not a money thing necessarily. It was just kind of we've done this in the past. Let's see if it works here too. That's what that testing is about. Any questions?
Trevor?
Any questions on anything that you saw in the report?
No, is the social work students, are they like?
No, they're.
No.
Okay. Now, one thing I did want to draw attention to is, in the spring, looks like we're gonna be getting a facelift for our public facing catalog. And so this is a project that's gonna be occurring, it's gonna be occurring, system-wide. So all libraries in Southern Adirondack, Mohawk Valley Library Systems. And so the company, Triple I, that owns, or that makes our catalog software, Polaris, they've released a product that's called Vega. And Vega is their accessible catalog product. And so by the time, I think this spring, all government websites have to, including libraries, have to conform to accessibility standards under section 508. And so that also includes the web content accessibility guidelines, which our current public facing catalog is not technically accessible. And what does accessible mean? Well, in this context, it really means that it will be formatted so that it will be readable on a variety of different devices, including mobile devices. The font is readable, the text is scalable, it'll support text to speech. The book, like the cover images in there, they will be larger. So it's just going to be a more overall friendly viewing experience. And so I'm on a committee, it's called the Operations Committee for JA. And so we've been involved in meetings where the people that are working on implementing Vega are presenting their findings to us, and then we're giving them recommendations on how to potentially proceed. And so it's a little sticky because we're involving, trying to get as much input from as many member libraries as possible to decide when this is implemented, how is it best going to work for everybody. And really with what we're running into issues with right now is how e-content behaves in this catalog. And really that just means, since we are made up of 2 systems that each have their own subscriptions to different e-content services, and then individual member libraries in each of these systems, including us, that have our own personal subscriptions, library subscriptions to e-content platforms. And we would like all of this to appear in the catalog to the patrons that are looking at our site so that they can see everything that we have to offer. And so just trying to get all that to work so that, let's say somebody, you know, that is looking at Lake George's website and they're looking for e-content. We want to make sure that our e-content doesn't appear on Lake George's website. You might say, why would it? Well, that's what we're trying to iron out here, because the product is meant to work really, really well in a setting that's, you know, one library or a library with branches. When it gets into a consortium setting, it gets a little more difficult. When it gets into a consortium that's made of two separate systems, that really kind of, you know, tests its abilities. But so far, the findings that, you know, we've seen, I think everything's gonna iron out well. I think it's gonna be great come spring. So it's been really interesting. And if you want to see what it looks like right now, Schenectady Public Library, they've been using Vega, and so that's a good opportunity to go and see what it looks like and how it behaves.
Anybody have any other questions for Trevor? Catherine? We have the Trevor
So many programs, but we're having really good attendance at all of our programs. I think.
Yes, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, I just said we're having lots of people at lots of programs. Beavers. Pajamas. There's gingerbread happening tonight, so if you guys feel like wandering back to the room later. Lovely stage. Very brave. They like art.
Yeah, they do.
Have you seen the white I have? It's kind of. It's like you need like a shop back. Been a while, but I can't imagine it's changed that much. Amy? One thing I just realized was, so my librarian Callie presented drumming at NYLA, so she was a presenter there, and I said in my report that I was gonna include the slide deck from her presentation because it looked great, and then I never did, so I apologize about that. We have a relatively new New York Times All Access subscription. We've had it it started in July. And one of the things that gives us is games, like our patrons can play any of the New York Times games. And so it does tell us the stats of how many people are playing the games. And we had users played 1,713 games in the month of November. So I thought that was good. Hopefully they're reading that many news articles as well. Yeah, so I thought that was great. Any questions? Social work.
Yeah, you're looking at 2 interns, and then what would have we had them before? You've had social work interns in the library?
Had a social work intern ever before, right? We've talked about it. Did we have one last year? Well, we did, but not in this much of a capacity. She was really just for one of her courses, she was doing some hours with us, and so she helped out with Read to Recovery. She did an assessment of all her books. These 2 would be a lot more hours. They're gonna be from January to like May, and they're 2 awesome people, like the guy and a girl, and one of them currently works part-time at the Rise shelter, and so they just have a lot of experience coming in, and I'm very excited. Emily will be their go-to point person.
I'm just curious, because what kinds of things will they do?
So they would be available if anybody came up to the desk and said, you know, I'm looking for housing, or I'm looking for this, you know, certain kind of service. Where we could say, there is a social worker here right now that can connect you with some, you know, above and beyond what we can do. Because we can do some stuff, but we can't do as much as a social worker can do. And so it's that option. And they will be like, sometimes they'll be out at like a table and they'll put a little sign up, and that way if people want to approach, they will not approach anybody unsolicited. Yeah. So these are 2 kids, I call them kids, that want to be in a non-traditional, like non-clinical setting, right? And so they were really looking for that experience of, you know, being out and being with the public. So, yeah.
And I wanted to congratulate you. There was some crossover with another library looking for advice on how to.
Oh, yes, yep, that's a system, that was like a library system, and so, yeah, it's great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And the social workers will essentially be navigators
Yeah.
through all of this. There are so many resources out there. Yeah.
And this is really our first time with something like this, so we will learn a lot too, so it's exciting.
What kind of space are you gonna give them?
So mostly they'll be working out of the computer lab and on the second floor, and so after the first month or so, we're gonna see, maybe will spend some time on the first floor. The two of them are working out, they wanna work on weekends too, so they're working out some weekend hours.
I mean,
So
I just,
that's
will they have private space?
they will, yes, yep, they can use it whenever there's not a, our computer lab isn't used a whole lot, some programs, but anytime that there's not a program in the computer lab, they can use that space, which has its own phones that they can call out, computer and internet access. They could close the door if they wanted.
Yeah.
We don't ever really recommend that, but.
At the moment, there isn't really any private office
Right.
space that's available for this kind of purpose.
Right. Well, just even, if there might be need for confidentiality and.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah, and they could close the door and it is, they can be confidential there, absolutely.
We're working on a potential, now that the Friends have voted officially that they're not going to reopen the cafe space, that while we're looking at the way we use the rest of the space in a planning process, at moving literacy activities, which are dispersed throughout the building now, right now. There's a lot of competition between literacy programs, other library programs, and public demand for the meeting rooms downstairs, for the assessment classroom rooms, and for an office space that we have dedicated primarily to literacy services, to try to maybe consolidate all of the literacy stuff into the cafe for now, and that Mary Ann doesn't have to, compete for space for this program that she's really grown into something that's pretty extraordinary for this institution. We just have to convince her that that's the space that she wants. So that then frees up demand for the other spaces, or frees up the spaces to build the demand for the size of the class. Which then might create an office availability, maybe where we've got a lot of the literacy activity happening.
Any other questions for Jamie?
I don't have too much to add, except that I've had the pleasure of meeting a number of our retirees recently, which has been nice. Putting a face to the name to. But nothing else to add unless you have questions.
So I know you just made a similar transition for the city.
Yeah.
Because the price of the Medicare Advantage plan last year went up about, I don't know, 3%.
It was,
Yeah.
For the PPO?
Yeah, it was just for the PPO though, right?
It was so long ago, I don't remember exactly what, and it was not the same providers, but it. Right, we did a lot of looking around to find something that wouldn't be disruptive to people. Right. It was a process,
Yeah.
so.
We had a number of
Congratulations
plans.
for getting that done. I know that was a lot more than what it looks like on the.
right.
screen.
Right.
We had a number of plans that Ike and I looked at and it was well thought out.
And even if you try not to be disruptive, and
Like Don said, nobody likes change.
No. No, and it's hard. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to make sure nothing gets dropped off.
Yes,
Exactly. The benefits, so.
But it has been nice to meet, quite a number of them. And I think I've talked to pretty much every single one of them. They've called So it's been nice to see again.
You see, it's not a long report. The elevator was a lot of time. We did get, a unit replaced. This was before our big power fiasco and all that. That was in, then integrated. We actually did some fine tuning on that actually today. But it's running well. It's, as you know, the change of the seasons requires a lot of other changes, so we're just rolling with the flow and trying to keep as many people happy as possible. As you know, that's so easy. Any questions? Thank you.
We do not have any major things. Enumerated.
And the naming rights policy, I don't know if there's anything new to say about it, it just came up as for conversation last time, and I don't know if any progress has been made on it, or if there was any sense of urgency for it. We were approached by somebody who wanted to, was thinking about a legacy for a relative, and I shared last month that we do have a gift policy. And we did walk around it, and I think that within the gift acceptance policy that we have already, we could probably come up with a plan that would satisfy this particular person. But just thinking about as we go forward, if we're gonna branch out or think about some other capital plans that we wanna think about maybe having a naming rights policy. So essentially that's a placeholder for now, and we can take it off for future meetings unless you think that a bigger discussion is needed.
Is it, am I correct in remembering that the amount was relatively, like, not enough money where we would look at?
Right, it was not in line with anything that we've ever done. Because, you know, as far as naming rooms after people, what our history has been here has been naming rooms for in honor of people's service to the institution rather than for a monetary contribution. So the rooms that have names are named after former directors. There are plaques throughout the building for people who either given enough service or given money. And we think that hanging a plaque somewhere would fall within the parameters of what we've done in the past and would probably satisfy them.
Or like a parallel, you know how, I mean, at the nature preserve near my mother, there's all these benches in
Right.
memory of people, and, you know, they're just little tiny plaques.
So, yeah, so I think it's a great place to start a conversation about what we do as people, as we become, and I think it is starting to happen more frequently, that people are starting to talk to us about legacy gifts to the library.
I just learned there's a huge tax implication if you leave stocks and things as opposed to, or even in your annual giving, that you give stocks rather than cash donations. Did you know that?
I'm not
I
a
didn't
tax, I'm not a
realize.
tax expert, but yeah.
I didn't
but-
realize that until
Yeah.
this week. Someone was saying that.
You mean if we accept stocks?
If you accept, yes, that is a higher benefit for the person giving than if they just wrote a check.
Right.
There's some tax, there's some the way that it works that, so if you're seeing more, it's probably something that Eric or somebody should become a little
Right,
familiar with.
Right, and a lot of those things we've been actually kind of directing toward the Friends or toward the Community Foundation. Because we do know that as a governmental entity, there's, you know, there may not be a tax benefit for people giving to a governmental entity.
Right.
Rather than to a 501c.
Right.
And I've actually seen along the same lines, like other organizations locally reaching out in their newsletters and saying, have you made the required disbursement from your hire this year?
Oh, that's
But, like, so that it comes directly from the hire and we never take it out. They're not old enough to do that yet, so I don't know the particulars,
But it's
it would be
probably
an
a similar
interesting
thing,
to
yeah.
look into that as well. Even if it's just for the friends,
Mhm.
you know, I think that is, don't see any new business, and you said that the executive session, we don't need. Oh. It's really fast.
Can I ask one more question, because I don't know who to approach? So are we still doing any technology, one-on-one meetings, if you have a problem with something, whose department is
Yep,
that?
so that's my department. We've moved away from that because people were never showing up to their appointments and then like taking up all the appointments, and it really wasn't working out. So we've been doing like senior planet classes, and doing more like group settings. And if somebody comes to the desk and they're like, I have an issue with whatever, we can certainly say like, you know, if they've got the device with them, we can usually help them one-on-one right at that moment. So we haven't really felt that the one-on-one appointments have been necessary, and the senior center does offer.
And those are listed somewhere when they're offered?
The senior center ones?
Not the senior center, you said senior plan?
Senior plan.
Oh, senior planet, yes, that's all on our, regular library calendar.
Okay.
And you might have seen, in my report and in Trevor's report, speaking of retirees, we did get news that on the same day last month, we lost two of our retirees. Cindy Eddy, who many of you might know, worked at primarily at the circulation desk for nearly 3 decades, and Bob Cooley, who was a building monitor. We know about arrangements for Bob Cooley, if anyone's interested, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at St. Clements, there'll be a service for him. We haven't gotten any news about
I think it's spring.
in the spring.
You know, we don't have a class. Okay. No, we adjourn.